Har Habayit Biyadenu. 3 words broadcast 55 years ago, which arguably were the most dramatic and transformational words to usher in a whole new era for the Jewish people, for the future of Klal Yisrael, and to tell us that we'd received the gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu after close to 2,000 years of foreign rule in Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim was once again under Jewish sovereignty. This week we're celebrating the 28th of Iyar, Yom Yerushalayim, and I'd like to speak a few words about that event. As a matter of fact, the 28th of Iyar was a date of the Jewish calendar well known to Chazal and recorded even in the Shulchan Aruch. And even 700 years ago, when the Rabbi Yaakov ben Osher was writing the Tur Shulchan Aruch in Orach Chaim Siman Tov Kuf Pei, he records several dates of the year, not so famous, but was significant for us for various reasons. And the 28th of Iyar was significant because it was the Yartzeit of Shmuel HaNovi. The day that Shmuel HaNovi died, the Maseres in Klal Yisrael, in Maseches Tainis, Megillas Tainis rather, was that this took place on the 28th of Iyar. Nothing is coincidental. The Yad Hashem, the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that decided that we're one step closer to Yerushalayim Habenuya Ki'ir Shechubur Lo Yachtov, the amazing power of Yerushalayim to unite Klal Yisrael and unite ultimately mankind. That process had begun 55 years ago in our lifetime. Har Habayit Biyadenu, Mota Gur, the commanding officer of the Tzanchanim, who took the old city and the Har Habayis in a few hours, in the most remarkable, unplanned, unpredicted moment in Jewish history, transformed all our lives. Our children and grandchildren have taken it for granted that one of the things you do in life is to go and visit Yerushalayim. But when we were kids, before 1967, Yerushalayim was still a dream, like it was for David HaMelech when he said those words, Omdos hoyu ragleinu b'sharayach Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim habenuya. I'm standing at the gates of Yerushalayim and I'm dreaming, says David, about Yerushalayim habenuya, about a fully built Yerushalayim with a Beis HaMikdash in it, and he never had the zechus to see it himself, but he knew about it, and he dreamt about it, and he planned it. And therefore Yerushalayim has remained for us a symbol of the tenacity of Klal Yisrael to keep hold of our dreams, and the Yad Hashem, the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which in our lifetime has given us back this amazing gift. The Gemara in Nida Daf Lamed Aleph says, Ein Bal Haneis Makir Beniso, that often a person is in the middle of something miraculous and he doesn't realize it. We don't realize that with the events that we are in the midst of, the rebuilding of Yerushalayim, the return of so many of Am Yisrael to Yerushalayim, that this is such a phenomenal transformation of our lives, that this is a nace. We can't realize it. We don't understand it. If we understood it, we would make the same bracha that we make on Chanukah and Purim, she'asa nisim la'avoseinu ba'yomim oheim bazman hazeh. Because bizman hazeh we have seen this most remarkable event taking place, and it has completely changed our lives, even the lives of members of Klal Yisrael who've never been to Yerushalayim yet. But a Jew who lives in Rio de Janeiro, or he lives in California, or he lives in Australia or New Zealand, he walks differently, and he thinks differently about himself, because Yerushalayim is once again the capital of Klal Yisrael. And he understands that something has happened. Intuitively, the neshamas of Klal Yisrael have understood for the last 55 years that we are living in a different world. Even though we can't completely recognize the nace, sadly there are those people who are still completely blind and can't see the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving us Yerushalayim, access to Yerushalayim and Har Habayis as something of an absolute phenomenal significance for us all. It's not by chance, incidentally, that the 28th of Iyar, the Yartzeit of Shmuel HaNovi, is connected to this day. Nothing is by chance, but what is the connection of Shmuel HaNovi to Yerushalayim? And the truth is the connection is very profound indeed. If you have a look in Shmuel Aleph chapter 19, you'll find that in the early days of David HaMelech, when he's running away from Shaul HaMelech, that very sad incident of Shaul against David, at a certain point he goes to the Ramah. He goes to where Shmuel HaNavi lives, Shmuel HaRamosa. And he goes, and the pasuk there says he goes to a place called Ramot Banayot. And the Gemara in Zvachim, Daf Nun Daled, says, what does it mean, Ramot Banayot? Ramot and Nayot are two different places. So the Gemara says, no, he went to Ramot to sit with Shmuel HaNavi in order to benefit from Shmuel's prophecy, from Shmuel's prophetic powers and prophetic teachings, to teach him when and where the Beis HaMikdash could be built. The actual blueprint and the plans for the Beis HaMikdash came from Shmuel HaNavi. The nevuah of the exact place where the Beis HaMikdash could be built and how to build it all came from the nevuah of Shmuel HaNavi. And David HaMelech sat at his feet and was a Talmud of his and absorbed from him this information. And only because of that was David HaMelech able afterwards, later on, when he was crowned king in Hebron, he decided at a certain point, I'm going to march on Yerushalayim, capture Yerushalayim, and establish a Beis Hashem. And David is the person who is able to identify that all-important location. Don't forget that the Chumash itself never uses the word Yerushalayim and never specifies where the Beis HaMikdash is going to be. Repeatedly, the Torah speaks about Hamokoim asher yivcha Hashem Elokecha. In Parshas Re'eh, I think it appears 6 or 7 times. Lots of things will happen. Bamokoim asher yivcha Hashem Elokecha. There will become a place chosen by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but where is that place? The Torah doesn't tell us. Why the Torah doesn't tell us the place of Yerushalayim, that is discussed. The Moreh Nevuchim speaks about it, the Kli Yakar speaks about it. I won't go into that for the moment. There are various reasons. But in the Chumash itself, the place of Yerushalayim is only referred to as Ha-Makom, the definitive place. And of course it has the ambiguity that Ha-Makom also means HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that coming to that place is connecting us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a unique way. It was only David HaMelech who translated Ha-Makom into a tangible, locational place on this planet of Yerushalayim. He understood through the Nevuah of Shmuel HaNavi, and therefore it was, I think, a special gift to Shmuel HaNavi that on his yahrzeit, the 28th of Iyar, within a few hours, the sovereignty over the Har HaBayis and Yerushalayim was restored to Klal Yisrael after nearly 2,000 years of foreign rule on the city. And this is really, there's so many Nisim came together for this to happen. I remember reading about it at the time. I was a teenager, and it was amazing that actually had King Hussein of Jordan done the reasonable thing, made a reasonable decision not to get involved in this war, we would never have had Yerushalayim, or Yehuda or Shomron for that matter. But for some reason, he made the absolute lunatic decision to get into a war that was already lost, based on false information that he was given from Nasser. And that, because of that, we entered into a war with Jordan and captured Yerushalayim and Yehuda and Shomron, and the rest is history, but it's our history. And it is the most significant history that transformed the identity of Klal Yisrael and gave a tremendous inner strength to every Jew on planet Earth. If you read Sharansky's writings, for example, representing the mindset of the refuseniks in Russia, because before this happened, before the 67 war, all we knew about being Jewish was that people hated us. Being Jewish meant that you were hated. Suddenly, being Jewish meant that you were proud, that you were connected to Jerusalem, that Jerusalem, the holy city, was somehow restored within Am Yisrael. That reconnected millions of Jews who were maybe light years away from Torah and mitzvahs. Suddenly we reconnected to their identity. And it triggered off a Baal Tshuva movement, which affected thousands, tens of thousands of people, because suddenly something electrified Klal Yisrael. And this week, on the 28th of Iyar, on Sunday, Bez Hashem, is a day to commemorate that amazing nace. the nace of the restoration of Yerushalayim to Klal Yisrael. Also the nace that indeed, if you saw some of the blood-curdling speeches of Nasser to hundreds of thousands of screaming Egyptians in Cairo, and they were saying, we're going to wipe them out, we're going to destroy every last Jew, we're going to make the whole of Israel, we're going to restore it to its Arab origins, and it was frightening. And it was 20 years after the Holocaust, and the whole of Medinat Yisrael was not yet 20 years old. And here was going to be another Holocaust, and everybody was very, very nervous and very anxious. And the Egyptians and the Syrians had been equipped with all the latest Russian equipment, and the Nissim were unbelievable. Right? The Israeli aircraft that went in to destroy the Egyptian Air Force in the early hours at the beginning of the first day of the war, there were dozens of the latest Russian surface-to-air missile units that they had received, and not a single plane was shot. Nothing, for some reason. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us this gift. The Hashgacha Pratis of Yom Yerushalayim is something beyond measure. She'asa nisim le'avaseinu b'yomim ha'heim b'zman hazeh. Yerushalayim habenuyo ki'ir shechubur lo yachtov. That Yerushalayim has the ultimate power of chibur on so many levels. It's mechaber us with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As Yaakov Avinu said, Ein zeh kiyem beis Elokim v'zeh sha'ar hashamayim. All our tefillas, in some way, connect to Yerushalayim, and through Yerushalayim come to the Yerushalayim Shel Mala. It's mechaber the Yerushalayim Shel Mata to the Yerushalayim Shel Mala. It connects the physical to the spiritual worlds. It has a tremendous power of chibur. It connects Klal Yisrael together. Everybody is united around Yerushalayim. Shalosh Palim Bashana, 3 times a year. Bez Hashem will be able to go on Aliyah L'Regel. Shesham Olu Shavotim Shiftei Kah. That all the different tribes are united through Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim has this amazing power of chibur. It also is mechaber, connects us to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Chazal say that Har HaMoriah of the Akedah was on the Har Habayis. And at the end of the Akedah, Avram calls it Hashem Yireh. And Yireh is the first half of the word Yerushalayim. The second half of the word Yerushalayim comes from Malki Tzedek Melech Shalem. Says the Medrash, the word Yerushalayim was a hybrid word, is a hybrid word, of the word Yirah and Shalem. Yirah and Shalem combined make up the word Yerushalayim. The Vav in the middle is the Vav HaChibur, which connects the Yirah to the Shalem, and together the Torah of Shem ben Noach and the Torah of Avram Avinu and Sefer Bereshis combined to make Yerushalayim Habenuya, to create this ultimate chibur of Gashmias and Ruchnias, of Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the chibur of us to the Avos, and the chibur of us also to the Umos HaOlam. The nations of the world, according to the Nevi'im, will one day say, Kubu v'nale, let's go to the Har Hashem. Let's go to the Har Hashem. And let's learn a way of life that makes sense. Let's learn about the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. In Yeshaya chapter 2, Ki mitzion teitzei Torah udvar Hashem Yerushalayim, that pasuk that we're all familiar with, is describing Yemos HaMashiach, when Yerushalayim will be the ultimate chibur of the whole of mankind together, and bring them together tachas kanfei Hashchina. V'chein Yehi Rata.